Black lives matter. Black lives have always mattered. Black lives will always matter to me, and they will always matter to the Dharma Bum Temple. It's like, you think it can't get any worse, and 2020 says, here, hold my beer. A lot of things have gone on just since last week. And I want to let it be known that I will stand with my Black brothers and sisters in any way that I can. I will always call out racism and seek an end to racism in any way that I can. I will be open to criticism in any way that I might go about doing it wrong. If you want to correct me, that's okay. I'm okay getting better. I love all of you. I can't know the Black experience. I can't. I'm not a Black man or a Black person. But through my Buddhist practice, I do understand suffering. And I do understand loving kindness, and I do understand the application of loving kindness called compassion, which is when you see suffering, you want it to stop. I want it to stop. Black people in this country have been subjugated and enslaved and virtually enslaved the last 401 years, for the entire 401 years of their existence in this country, since the slave trade started in 1619. And we're still a very racist country. Not all of us, not a lot of us, but enough. Or maybe a lot of us, but enough for it to cause so much more pain, so much more suffering. And everyone out there online needs to do what they can if any Black person has ever come to the Dharma Bum Temple and felt unwelcome, I sincerely apologize. When the Dharma Bum Temple opens again, you are more than welcome to be here, just as much as anybody else. And if you ever feel unwelcome, please let Jeff or myself know. We will rectify the situation. The Dharma Bum Temple is a place of diversity and inclusion and love for all beings. And when one group is disproportionately attacked and maligned and treated the way Black people have been treated in this country, our heart pours out for them, which is why we'll do anything to make this suffering stop in any way we can. This has been bothering me for a while now. And it just pains me. It just pains me to see this suffering go on. I got really angry today. Really angry with just, everything that was going on. It got really got to me. And even now, I can just feel the anger inside me. And one of the things we do in mindfulness practice is understand what we call the hindrances. And the hindrances are, blocks to meditation and things that detract us from our mindfulness. And one of those things is ill will. I've had a lot of ill will crop up. That's okay. It's okay to notice. There's no shame in noticing. My gosh. Sorry. My beard gets long, it tickles my nose. So yeah, a lot of ill will, but fortunately we have an antidote to ill will. And the antidote to that ill will is loving kindness. And we're going to get to that in a minute. But I wanted to read something from a monk. If you don't believe anything that I'm saying, you don't have to. I'm not a monk. And this just gets right to the point, and I love this. And this monk's name is Bhante Siddhaso. He's a monk in New York City right now. And he goes, as a monk, it is my duty to directly state what is wholesome and what is unwholesome, what is right and what is wrong, what is good and what is evil. Therefore, to be perfectly clear, racism is evil, cruelty is evil, torture is evil, killing is evil. There is no valid justification for racism, cruelty, torture, or killing at any time, for any reason, under any circumstance. The cruel, torturous murder of George Floyd is but one recent episode in a centuries-old story of evil acts perpetuated in this country under the guise of law enforcement. As a Buddhist monk, it is my duty to point out such evil atrocities as being just that. This is not a political issue. This is a moral issue. And as a Buddhist monk, I will not back down from my duty to speak about morality. May all beings be happy and free from oppression. That just sums it right up. So, today we were supposed to have a couple of stories of Angulimala and Malika, the flower girl queen. I don't feel like it. This is not really the right time. So we'll do this some other time. Maybe next week, I don't know. But we will do a loving kindness meditation because this is the loving kindness class. I'm glad you were all here. The word that we use in this practice is metta, M-E-T-T-A. And metta has a lot of translations because it comes from the ancient Pali language. And as is the case with a lot of ancient languages, one word in that language, when translated to English, 2,500 years later, could mean lots of different things. And that's the case for metta. Metta could be loving kindness, it could be unconditional friendliness and goodwill. And it's simply a wish to be happy. A wish for us to be happy, a wish for others to be happy. And it's a wish for those people to do the things that cause happiness. And what causes happiness? Well, our positive words, thoughts, and deeds. Just like it says on the back of all the t-shirts here, right? Think good thoughts, speak good words, do good deeds. I always get those messed up. I don't think they're in that order. But that's okay. And so that's what we're here to do. We're here to purify our own heart, our own mind. Whenever we see these injustices in the world, we have this practice of loving kindness to help us purify our heart and mind. to be able to act in a way accordingly to combat all these injustices in any way that we can. And I'm really grateful that we have this practice about now. So, we're just going to get into it. But before we do, let's talk about posture a little bit. So if you're seated on a cushion, you just want to make sure that you're seated on the forward third of the cushion so your hips are higher than your legs. You have this really stable tripod kind of position here. So it's nice and stable. You're not moving to the left or the right or up and down or backwards and forwards. If you remember anything, just remember to keep your back straight. So I like to make my back super duper straight and just kind of relax. So my core is still somewhat engaged, but my back is still straight. Your hands can be anywhere that's comfortable. If you're seated on a chair, you just want to make sure that your feet are flat on the floor with your feet a few inches, with your legs a few inches apart. Your head is nice and straight, maybe tucking your chin under just a little bit, extending the spine. And your eyes can be closed, they can be open, they can be half closed, looking 45 degrees down past your nose in this kind of soft and focused gaze. And it's really helpful to think about when we meditate that we sit and we think of ourselves like a Buddha. The Buddha sitting underneath the Bodhi tree, unperturbed by any anger or ill will, just having love for all beings in all directions all the time, purifying his heart. Well, you already had a pure heart. We purify our hearts. Also, if you have any questions, now would be a good time to think about the question you want to ask. If you don't have any questions, think about, I wonder what question I want to ask when this meditation is done. And then when you come out of meditation, don't think of it in meditation. Then when you come out of meditation, ask yourself again. You'll have the answer. There's a lot of chaos in the world. And so let's still our mind and still our hearts. And let's do this meditation. So just closing your eyes, or however you want to meditate. Making sure that you have that comfortable and sustainable position so you're not likely to move around too much. Taking a deep breath all the way in and all the way out. Not forcing the breath, letting the breath be quite easy and quite natural. And you can pay a gentle attention to the breath at the base of the nostrils, feeling the air go in and out as you breathe. Doing your best just to keep the attention there. Know when you're breathing in. Know when you're breathing out. So let's just take the next few moments in silence, then get connected to the breath before we start our meditation on loving kindness. And so to begin our meditation on loving kindness, we're going to think of a benefactor. And a benefactor is anyone who has shown us great love or great kindness. Someone, when you just think of this person, your heart just kind of gets bigger, gets warmer. It could be a family member, a mother, father, brother, sister, child, cousin, grandmother, whatever it is. Perhaps not a romantic partner, but everyone else fair game. It could be someone who is not living anymore. That's okay. Just think of their wish to be happy, their wish to be free from harm and healthy, free from pain, sorrow, grief, suffering. And you can either repeat phrases of loving kindness to them, phrases like, may you be happy, may you be safe from inner and outer danger. May you be well in body and mind. May you be at peace and live at ease in this world. Or, if it's easier, you can just imagine a beam of loving kindness emanating from your heart to theirs. It could be any color. It could be warm. It could be cool. It could be whatever is comfortable for you. Just for the next few moments, we'll do this practice of loving kindness for our benefactor. Now, shifting our focus just a little bit from doing this practice for our benefactor to now imagining our benefactor doing this practice for us. And it could be the same benefactor, it could be a different one. And a lot of times it's really helpful to put your hand over your heart, just seeing if there's any resistance to your benefactor's well wishes for you. And you can either imagine them saying these phrases for you, or imagining a beam of loving kindness emanating from their heart to yours. And gently listening for any resistance. If there's any resistance, can you breathe into it, knowing that all of these feelings of resistance they're simply not true, that you're deserving of all of this love, all of these well wishes. And so for the next few moments, we'll imagine our benefactor doing this practice for us. And now we can shift our focus again, and we can begin to do this practice for ourselves. There's no more important practice of loving kindness than having loving kindness for yourself. Because only when you can experience that for yourself can you truly want it for others. Because all you want to do when you experience it is share it with others. When this metta fully penetrates your heart, it's an inexhaustible supply. It is freely given to others. So just call to mind your own wish to be happy, your own wish to be free from harm. Get out of your head that you don't deserve this. Of course you do. You've been conditioned to think this, and that's all a lie. Happiness is your birthright, but it's a skill that takes practice. So this is our practice. You can repeat these phrases for yourself. May I be happy. May I be safe from inner and outer danger. May I be well in body and mind. May I be at peace and live at ease in this world. And finally, we can freely give away all this loving kindness either to all beings in all directions, even a specific group of people, like all the Black people in this country throughout history who have been subjected to the tyranny of the ruling class, the tyranny of white men. Open your heart to them. Just open your eyes when you're ready. Take the next moment or two out in silence as you stretch your arms and you stretch your legs, keeping that mindfulness of loving thoughts about you. And then in a minute, we'll start. Okay. So, a lot has happened this last week. We just had a meditation. I just got on my soapbox for a while. But it's something that needed to be said, I feel. It was in my heart to say it. I thought it was really important. But I'm really interested to know if you have any questions. I'm interested to know and how that meditation was for you. Were you feeling one way going into it, and did you feel a different way coming out of it? So you can post your question in the chat box there. I'll be happy to answer it. I'll do my best. This would be a time where I think you have a lot of questions.
So Derek had shared, he shared at the beginning. But
Oh yeah, sure.
I never been to the temple, but as a Black man, I and my wife do not find San Diego very welcoming. I look forward to visiting the temple.
Thank you, Derek. You and your wife are so welcome here, and we will welcome you with open arms and a loving heart. And we hope to see you when the temple opens. And one of the things is we feel members of the temple, the founding-ish members of the temple. Jeff certainly is a founding member. I kind of came a little bit later, but for the early folks at the temple, one of the things we've always wanted to foster was this inclusivity and this diversity, and everybody was welcome. And that can be, you think it'd be easy, but we always get asked that question because they still saw us as like a religious place, like a church, and will this church accept me? If you go look on our temple, we don't have like a statement of beliefs. Like in a lot of the Christian churches, they have like, this is our statement of beliefs and this is what we believe. And we don't have that. We just say that everybody is welcome. And we want everybody to feel welcome. Not any person of color, any person who may think that they would not be welcomed here is probably going to be welcomed here. One of the things I was going to say is, if you think this oppression and this racism is right, then maybe this temple isn't for you. And then maybe this temple isn't for you, but maybe this temple is right. Maybe this is a place to open your own heart. And you can say, all these ways, all this time, this way I've been thinking has been wrong just by doing this practice. And so, Derek, just to kind of follow, just to finish kind of on your comment, again, thank you so much. You are so welcome here. I cannot wait to see you. I cannot wait to see your wife and to welcome you here. You will always be welcome here. And there's something else I just kind of wanted to bring up, that, one of the things that you learn in, recovery, and I'm a person in recovery, is that keep your own side of the street clean. Like, don't worry about other people and what they're doing. Just worry about yourself and worry about your own behavior, worry about your own sobriety, worry about your own actions and your own words and thoughts. And, in Buddhism, this has a couple of different contexts. One is yourself, of course, and the other one is just Buddhism in general. And this hatred and bigotry that's become so prominent in the last week, although it's always been there, we see a lot of it in Buddhism. In Burma, Buddhist monks have incited violence against the Muslim Rohingya and driven them out of the country. They've killed hundreds, thousands of Muslims. And they've tried to use the Dharma to justify it. We can't stand for that. As Buddhists, we have to call that out. And we have to say, no, this is wrong. There's a Buddhist center elsewhere, not in this country, but in the West. I think they're run by Sri Lankan monks. Don't quote me on that. It could be somebody else, though. If I'm wrong, I apologize. And the person in charge of their Facebook posted some quote. It was a pretty bad quote by a Muslim cleric of some kind. And then the responses to that were just filled with hatred and bigotry. The most vile responses to that. And even the person who may be a monk who's in charge of this Facebook social media was posting horrible things. Just because someone said something they didn't like. I couldn't believe that was happening. But this kind of racism and hatred and bigotry can take hold anywhere. So we always have to do what we can to eliminate this in our own heart. And when we see it, call it out. There's a movement recently, I guess, in this country for engaged Buddhism, a Buddhism that kind of engages with the community, engages with the local community and the community at large in the world that we live in. And I think it's just kind of funny, because if you do this practice for a while, you think, well, all Buddhism is supposed to be engaged Buddhism. We should always be looking out for our brothers and sisters. It doesn't matter if they're Buddhist or not. And that's the wonderful thing about this practice, is that the more love and compassion I can have, the happier I am. And it's just this kind of self-perpetuating, self-filling of the heart. You know, and so I'm very grateful for that. So that's kind of what I wanted to say about that. Thank you.
Katie asked, what part of the Eightfold Path would be best to practice during this tough time?
Well, all of it. And I'm not saying that just to kind of blow you off or anything like that, Katie. I'm just saying it because, you know, the Eightfold Path is meant to be practiced together. It's not like you do this, and then when you finish with the first one, you start with the second one. It's not like steps of recovery, right? It's like you just practice it all at once. And all of them purify your heart, and all of them increase your wisdom. And increasing your wisdom increases your happiness. You can take a look at all of them, and they will all increase your happiness. They will all increase your love and compassion for others. All of them. Whether it's what you do for a living, whether it's concentration, whether it's meditation, whether it's wisdom and intention, whether it's your thoughts, actions, and words. Thoughts, actions, and words. Yeah, that's right. I had that right. All of that. And it's all meant to be practiced together. So yeah, all of it.
So Cynthia asked, she shared that it's not easy to have loving kindness for a friend who is diametrically opposed to everything I believe in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to abandon her when things are so horrible, but I also don't want to listen to her angry and hurtful diatribe. Do I have loving kindness for her and stay close, or loving kindness to me and be distant?
Your first responsibility for loving kindness is for you. That is your first responsibility for loving kindness. If you don't have kindness for yourself, you can't have kindness for anybody else. So definitely you first. Okay? So why should you have to hear that nonsense? Right? Especially now. Why do you want to increase your suffering? You know, it's kind of like, you know, when people ask, you know, I want to have loving kindness for my enemy, but it just, you know, it just makes me so crazy. And, you know, there's a couple of answers to that. And one of them is, well, don't practice this yet. You're not there yet. Or practice with the easy enemy. Practice with the person who has just annoying you a little bit and just work your way up to that person. You don't have to go to that person right away. You know, a lot of people on Facebook, I just start deleting people on Facebook, you know, unfriending them. It's like, nope. I don't announce my departure. This isn't the airport, right? I don't know if you've seen that meme on Facebook. Like, no need to announce your departure. This isn't the airport. You know, just leave. You know, I've done that for a lot of people. You know, old work people, old high school people. I graduated high school 35 years ago, 36 years ago. Ugh, I don't care about you, you know. And you're, you know, and I went to high school in the deep South. I went to high school in the suburbs of New Orleans, a city called Metairie. And Lord have mercy. let me tell you, we have our own Facebook page, the East Jefferson High School Warriors. Like class of like the 80s or something like that, or the alumni class. And oh my God. So I'm no longer part of that Facebook page. Let's just say that. So yeah, loving kindness for yourself. And if I could, if I were to tell this story of Malika, the flower girl queen, part of it is when her husband, the king, asked her who she loved the most. She thought about it because she was a student of the Buddha. And she goes, well, it's me. And the king got a little upset about that. And then when he thought about it, he goes, well, yeah, I guess for me, it's me as well. And they went to go ask the Buddha, hey, is this right? And the Buddha answered in verse, which he's wont to do. And he confirmed it. Yeah. So loving kindness for yourself, most important. Thank you, Cynthia.
Lucky asked, do you feel self-love is more of a journey rather than a destination?
Oh, it's, yeah, for sure, especially with the conditioning that we've received. Definitely. It's always going to be a practice that we'll have to do for the rest of our lives. Because there's always going to be Mara, there's always going to be the ego, however you want to look at it, saying, maybe you're not so important. Maybe you ought to not worry about yourself. That's selfish. You don't want to do that. You want to think about this other person first. And so to constantly practice that, I think, in my view, will always be, you'll always have that journey. Lucky. I like that name. Got time for a quick one?
I have one.
Yeah.
How would you describe white privilege to someone who thinks it's not real?
Oh, how would I describe white privilege to someone who thinks it's not real?
Yeah.
Now I'm wishing I could show you. There's so much of that stuff on Facebook now, and I can't remember any of it. I just know I have white privilege. I know I have white privilege, and maybe I'm not the person to think about that, to talk about that. Well, maybe I am because I'm a white person, but I know I've been privileged. I know I've seen racism. I've seen people called words and been attacked physically because their skin was a different color. And probably that person has seen it too. And put yourself in their shoes. Would you want that for yourself? There's so many things. There's one thing that I saw on Facebook, and this comes from Jane Elliott, who's she's like a racism expert. She's a white woman, but she's a racism expert. And she put it like this. And she's talking to a room of white people. And she goes, consider all of the injustices that Black people have gone through and the ways that Black people are treated even today in today's society. If you would like to be treated in the same way that they are treated, please stand up or please raise your hand. Guess how many people raise their hand? That's right, 0. These people who say, I don't know anything about white privilege, I don't think are even telling the truth. I think they know that they have white privilege. I mean, maybe some of them don't, but I think most of them do. But they're too scared to see it. It's like the boogeyman. Because if they have to look at it, the terror that it would cause them, the suffering that it would cause them, they think is too much. Well, if you think it's too much for you, Black people go through this every day. And this is the perfect practice to see that. Thank you, guys. I love each and every one of you. Black Lives Matter. And we'll see you next time.